Scout Zax Toril pressed his four-fingered hand against the viewport of his small observation craft. The blue-green planet hung before him, wrapped in swirls of white clouds. His mission was simple: catalog this newly discovered world at the edge of hegemony space. But after 3 lunar cycles of observation, nothing about this planet called Earth seemed simple anymore. Zax Toril belonged to the peaceful Vexari species, known throughout the galactic hegemony for their calm analysis and thoughtful diplomacy. The hegemony had peacefully absorbed over 2,000 worlds into its empire during the past millennium. The process was always the same: observe, make contact, demonstrate superior technology, and welcome the new species into the fold. But humans worried him. They were different. He watched another recording of a human rescue team pulling survivors from a collapsed building. The humans worked tirelessly, risking their lives for strangers. In another video, a human gave food to someone hungry on a street corner. Such compassion reminded Zax Toril of his own people. Then his screen shifted to footage of a human war zone. Explosions, gunfire, deliberate cruelty. The same species capable of such kindness could switch to shocking violence within moments. No species in the hegemony displayed such extremes. Zax Toril's report was almost complete. He typed the final words with a sense of dread. Recommend extreme caution or complete quarantine. Humans display unprecedented capacity for both compassion and violence. Standard integration protocols may prove catastrophic. He sent the report through the quantum relay, knowing it would reach Hegemony Central within moments. His duty was done. Now he could only hope the Council would listen. Thousands of miles below, Commander Susan Miller stared at the unusual readings on her monitor. The North American Space Defense Force outpost she commanded was tasked with tracking everything from space debris to potential meteors. But these signals from beyond Neptune's orbit matched nothing in their database. "Sir, I'm seeing it again," said Officer Gray Perez, pointing to his own screen. "It's like something's there, then gone, then there again. Too regular to be natural." Susan nodded. "How long has it been happening?" "About 2 weeks now. I thought it was equipment failure at first." Susan picked up her secure phone. "I need to report this up the chain." 3 hours later, Susan sat frustrated in her office. Her superiors had dismissed her concerns, suggesting a software glitch or sensor malfunction. They promised to send a tech team when possible. "They didn't believe us," she told Greg, who stood in her doorway. "What do you think it is?" he asked. Susan looked back at the data points. "I don't know, but whatever it is, it's watching us." Across the galaxy, Scout Zax Toril's report appeared on the screens of the 7 council members of the Galactic Hegemony. Grand Executor Kith Mole, the squid-like leader of the council, waved 2 of his tentacles dismissively. Another alarmist scout, he gurgled through his translator. "Every new species seems dangerous to these field agents." Council member Erilax, a tall, crystalline being, leaned forward. "This report seems more detailed than most. Perhaps we should investigate further before proceeding with contact." "Nonsense," said Council member Drav, whose reptilian species had dominated the mining operations across 17 star systems. "Scans show this planet is rich in rare minerals and biological compounds. We've handled primitive species before." "The scout reports they have nuclear weapons and frequent conflicts," Erilax noted. Grand Executor Kith Mole's skin rippled with blue annoyance patterns. "They're still bound to a single planet. Their ships barely reach their own moon. They're centuries behind our technology." "I motion we proceed with standard integration protocols," Drav said. "Second," said another council member quickly. "All in favor?" asked Kith Mole. 6 tentacles and various appendages raised. Only Erilax abstained. "The motion passes. Prepare the contact fleet," ordered Kith Mole. "This Earth will make a productive addition to our hegemony." The council adjourned, Zax Toril's warning filed away and essentially forgotten. Erilax lingered, reading the report again. Something about these humans seemed different, but even she couldn't imagine just how different they would prove to be. Dr. Alan Wright hunched over his computer in the university laboratory, eyes burning from staring at the screen for hours. The unusual radiation patterns he detected 3 weeks ago continued to appear in the data. Something was out there, at the edge of the solar system, watching. The door opened, and Dr. Patricia Summers walked in carrying 2 cups of coffee. She placed one beside Alan and peered at his screen. "Still chasing your mystery signals?" she asked, sipping her coffee. Alan nodded. "They're not natural, Pat. The pattern repeats too precisely." He pointed to a graph on the screen. "See these spikes? They happen exactly every 14 hours and 6 minutes. Patricia sat down, suddenly serious. "You think it's artificial? As in, extraterrestrial?" "Yes." Alan ran a hand through his messy hair. "I've ruled out everything else. It's not one of ours, not a satellite, not space junk. It's someone watching us." Patricia studied the data. With her background in astrophysics, she understood what she was seeing. "We need to tell someone about this." "Who?" "The government. They'll just classify it. The public. We'll be laughed out of our careers." Alan sighed. "We need more proof first." On the other side of the galaxy, Scout Zax Torald had not given up. His initial report had been filed away, but he couldn't let it end there. He had seen too much, knew too much about these humans. The Sentinel species were known as the warriors of the hegemony, a race of tall, gray-skinned humanoids with natural armor plates. If anyone would understand the threat, it would be them. Admiral Fentorax was Zax Torald's last hope. "You come to me outside normal channels, Scout," Admiral Fentorax said, his deep voice rumbling in the private meeting chamber. "This is irregular." Zax Torald bowed his head. "I apologize, Admiral, but the Council has ignored my warnings about Earth." "The Council makes the decisions. Who are we to question them?" Despite his words, the Admiral's 4 eyes showed interest. "Please, just watch." Zax Torald activated his data pad, showing footage of human military exercises, weapons tests, and war games. Admiral Fentorax leaned forward. "They fight like sentinels, but with more creativity." He watched a human squad use an unusual flanking maneuver. "We would never have thought of that approach. They have thousands of different combat styles," Zax Torald explained. "They turn their weaknesses into strengths. They adapt faster than any species we've encountered." The Admiral stood, towering over the smaller Vexari. "You've made your point, Scout. I will speak to the Council." 2 days later, the Hegemony Council reconvened. Grand Executor Kith Mole seemed annoyed as Admiral Fentorax presented his findings. "So they fight among themselves," Kith Mole said. "Many primitive species do before they join the hegemony. Our technology will overwhelm them." "With respect," the Admiral said, "I believe we should reconsider standard protocols. These humans are dangerous in ways we haven't seen before." Council member Drav tapped his clawed fingers on the table. "The initial survey fleet is already preparing to depart. Delaying will cost millions in resources, and the rare minerals on that planet," added another council member, "will bring billions in profit." "Money over security?" Admiral Fentorax asked. "That is not the hegemony way." Grand Executor Kith Mole's skin flashed with angry red patterns. "You forget your place, Admiral. The Council has voted. We will proceed as planned." Back on Earth, Susan Miller sat in a small diner with Alan Wright and Patricia Summers. The three had connected through mutual contacts after discovering they were all tracking the same anomaly. "The military's not taking it seriously," Susan said quietly. "They think our equipment is malfunctioning." Alan pushed his data pad across the table. "It's not. Look at our readings. Something's out there, and it's watching us." Patricia looked around nervously. "What do we do?" "We prepare," Susan said firmly. "Whatever's coming, we need to be ready." Outside the diner window, people walked by, unaware of the danger approaching from the stars. In 2 weeks, the hegemony contact fleet would arrive, expecting an easy conquest. They would find something very different. The sky above Earth changed on a Tuesday morning. 5 massive ships appeared suddenly at the edge of the solar system, moving steadily toward the third planet. Around the world, telescopes and radar systems detected the visitors. Panic spread quickly. Captain Richard Coleman stood at his post on the orbital defense platform, Liberty's Shield. His hands gripped the control panel as he watched the alien ships approach. 6 months ago, this platform had been a civilian space station. Now it was Earth's first line of defense. "Sir, they're broadcasting some kind of signal," said his communications officer, Lisa Wells. "It's repeating on all frequencies." "Can we translate it?" Richard asked, his mouth dry. "Working on it, sir," Lisa replied, her fingers moving quickly over her console. 300 miles below, in the underground command center of Earth Defense Force, General Frank Donovan watched the same alien ships on a large screen. Around him, military personnel from 20 nations worked together, a unity forged by fear. "Get me the president," Frank ordered, "and connect me to Captain Coleman on Liberty's Shield." Richard's face appeared on a side screen. "General, they're getting closer. Request permission to power up defensive systems." "Granted, but do not fire unless fired upon," Frank ordered firmly. "We don't know their intentions." Richard nodded stiffly. "Yes, sir." In space, the hegemony ships moved with precision. Their leader, Captain Zek Valoris, followed standard first contact protocols. His mission was to demonstrate overwhelming technological superiority, accept the inevitable surrender, and begin integration procedures. "We are broadcasting the standard greeting and superiority display," his second-in-command reported. "They should be suitably impressed by our arrival." Zek Valoris gazed at the blue planet. "Such a primitive world. This will be a simple operation." On Liberty's Shield, Lisa finally decoded part of the alien message. "Sir, I think they're saying they come in peace, but they want us to surrender. Something about joining their hegemony." Richard scowled. "Send a message back. Tell them to hold position until our leaders can establish proper communication." "They're not slowing down," reported the sensor officer. Richard felt sweat on his forehead. The alien ships were now passing Mars, still heading directly toward Earth. "General Donovan, they're ignoring our request to stop. What are your orders?" In the command center, Frank spoke with world leaders on a secure line. "They want us to surrender immediately," he explained. "The president says to hold fire, try to establish dialogue." "Sir," Richard's voice cracked slightly, "they'll be in weapons range of Earth in 10 minutes. We need to act now." Frank hesitated. "Fire warning shots only, Captain. I repeat, warning shots only. Do not hit their vessels." Richard turned to his weapons officer. "Fire warning shots across their bow. Make it clear we're not aiming at them." Liberty's Shield fired 3 times. The energy beams passed half a kilometer in front of the lead alien ship. Inside the hegemony flagship, alarms blared. Zek Valoris stood in shock. "They'd fired on us. A primitive species dares to fire on hegemony ships." "The shots missed us, Captain," his second-in-command reported. "Perhaps it was a warning." "Irrelevant," Zek Valoris said coldly. "This aggression must be met with the standard disciplinary response. Target their moon base." On Liberty's Shield, Richard watched in horror as the lead alien ship fired a blue beam toward the moon. The small research station there, with its crew of 15, disappeared in a flash of light. "They destroyed Moon Base Alpha," he whispered. "All hands lost." In the command center, the room fell silent. Then General Frank's voice broke through, hard as steel. "Captain Coleman, you are authorized to engage. All Earth Defense Forces, this is not a drill. We are at war." Across the planet, military forces mobilized. Fighter jets scrambled. Missile silos opened. Nuclear submarines prepared to launch. The hegemony had expected fear and submission. Instead, they had awakened a sleeping giant. Humanity would not go quietly into the night. Grand Executor Kith Mole received the news of the first engagement with mild annoyance. A primitive species had fired upon hegemony ships. Unthinkable, but Captain Zek Doloris had followed protocol. Demonstration of power, destruction of a minor outpost. The humans would now understand their place. Send the pacification fleet, Kith Mole ordered. 10 ships should be sufficient. Council member Erilax looked concerned. Perhaps we should review Scout Zax Toral's report again. Unnecessary, Kith Mole replied. This is routine. The humans will surrender when they see our full capability. 7 days later, the pacification fleet arrived at Earth. They expected to find a cowering population ready to submit. Instead, they found a planet prepared for war. Lieutenant Olivia Carter sat in the cockpit of her experimental stealth fighter. The XF-88 Shadow was invisible to normal radar, but no one knew if alien sensors could detect it. She was about to find out. Shadow 1 to command, she said into her radio. In position behind the third alien vessel. Copy, Shadow 1, came Admiral Peter Martinez's voice. Hold for the signal. Olivia watched the massive alien ship through her canopy. It was beautiful in a strange way, all curved lines and glowing blue energy, and it was about to destroy her world unless she found a weakness. Her instruments scanned the ship, searching for anything useful. Then she saw it, a pattern in the shield harmonics. Every 90 seconds, there was a tiny fluctuation, barely noticeable. Command, I'm seeing a shield weakness, she reported. There's a pattern to it. Can you exploit it? Admiral Martinez asked. I think so, but I need to get closer. Negative. Shadow 1. Do not engage yet. Olivia looked at her scanner again. The alien ships were moving toward major population centers. Sir, they're about to hit Chicago. We're out of time. A moment of silence. Then, all units, engage on Olivia's mark. Follow her lead. Olivia accelerated toward the alien ship, timing her approach carefully. Shields fluctuate in 3, 2, 1. Now. She fired 4 experimental plasma missiles directly at the weak point. For a terrible moment, nothing happened. Then the alien shields flickered and failed. Dozens of Earth fighters followed her attack pattern, targeting the now vulnerable ship. The hegemony vessel, unprepared for effective resistance, erupted in flames. It worked. Olivia shouted. Target the next ship with the same pattern. Across the battle, Earth forces launched coordinated strikes. 7 hegemony vessels fell in the first hour of combat. On the hegemony command ship, Captain Zelkoris watched in disbelief. How is this possible? They're primitives. His tactical officer looked up from his console, fear in his eyes. They found the shield fluctuation pattern, and they're adapting to our maneuvers faster than our computers can generate new ones. Retreat, Captain Zelkoris ordered. All ships, emergency jump to safe coordinates. The remaining hegemony ships vanished, leaving Earth's defenders cheering in their wake. In the council chamber, Grand Executor Kith Mole received the news with shock. 7 ships lost. To a pre-interstellar species. Admiral Fentorax stepped forward. I warned you. The humans are different. It changes nothing, Kith Mole insisted. We will simply send more ships. In his private quarters, Scout Zax Toral received an encrypted message from the battle. He had asked a friend to send him data if anything unusual happened. What he saw confirmed his worst fears. The humans had not only fought back, they had won. He needed to get this information to Admiral Fentorax. The hegemony didn't understand the danger they faced. These humans didn't fight like any species they had encountered before. They fought with desperate creativity, with cunning, with a willingness to risk everything. And now, they knew they could win. Grand Executor Kith Mole's skin rippled with dark red patterns of rage as he faced the council. 7 ships lost. Thousands of hegemony citizens dead. All because of one primitive planet that should have surrendered immediately. I am authorizing full military intervention, he announced. We will send half the Imperial fleet. These humans must learn their place in the galaxy. Council member Erilax stood in protest. This escalation is unwise. We've never committed such forces against a single world. We've never faced such defiance, Kithmul replied. These humans killed our people. They must be punished. Admiral Fentorax watched silently from his position near the wall. The council was making another mistake. The humans had already proven more dangerous than expected. Sending more ships would only result in more hegemony deaths. On Earth, Dr. Alan Wright worked frantically in a bunker beneath the Rocky Mountains. After the first alien attack, the government had brought him and Dr. Patricia Summers to this secret facility. I think I've got it, Alan said, looking up from his computer. Their communications use a quantum frequency shift pattern. Complex, but predictable. Patricia looked over his shoulder. Can we break their code? Better, we can understand their language. Alan typed a few more commands. Listen. The computer speakers crackled, then alien voices filled the room, now translated into English. Full fleet mobilization. Primary targets identified. Estimated arrival at Sol system in 14 days. Patricia's face paled. That's hundreds of ships. Get this to military command now, Alan said urgently. In the White House Situation Room, Nancy Rodriguez studied the holographic display showing Earth's defenses. As the newly appointed head of Earth's Unified Command, she had the impossible job of preparing for the coming invasion. They'll expect us to defend our cities, she said to the military leaders gathered around the table. So we won't. We'll evacuate the civilian population and turn our cities into traps. General Frank Donovan looked skeptical. Abandon our urban centers. Not abandon. Transform. Nancy pointed to the display. Every skyscraper becomes a potential ambush point. Every subway tunnel a place to strike and disappear. We can't match their technology, so we change the rules of engagement. Admiral Peter Martinez nodded slowly. Guerrilla warfare on a global scale. Exactly. Nancy brought up images of factories around the world. Meanwhile, we convert every possible manufacturing facility to produce weapons based on what we learned from the alien technology. Across the planet, humanity prepared. Automobile factories now produced fighter craft parts. Electronics companies built communication jammers. Chemical plants made explosives. The speed of the transformation shocked even the most optimistic military planners. In orbit, Lieutenant Olivia Carter trained new pilots, teaching them the weakness she had discovered in the alien shields. They'll adapt, she told her students. They'll fix that vulnerability. But they won't expect us to have already found another one. The hegemony fleet arrived exactly 14 days later. 200 massive warships entered the solar system, their weapons ready. Captain Laxventil, the fleet commander, smiled with confidence as Earth appeared on his view screen. Begin the bombardment, he ordered. Target their largest cities first. The first wave of destruction missed its targets. The cities appeared intact on sensors, but were actually elaborate holograms. The real cities had been partially evacuated, their remaining structures rigged with explosives and ambush points. When hegemony ground forces landed to secure the ruins, they found themselves in well-planned killing grounds. Human fighters struck from hidden bunkers, using weapons modified with alien technology. They hit and disappeared before the hegemony forces could respond. In space, Earth's new defense fleet engaged using unpredictable tactics that confused the hegemony's battle computers. Small, fast ships darted between the massive alien vessels, exploiting new weaknesses, retreating before counterattacks could land. By the end of the first day, the hegemony had lost 23 more ships. Captain Laxventil stared at the casualty reports in disbelief. "What kind of species is this?" he whispered. 2 months into the war, Admiral Fentorax made his decision. The hegemony had lost over 70 ships, with thousands dead. Still, Grand Executor Kith Mole refused to consider peace. He kept sending more ships, more soldiers. The losses continued to mount. Fentorax could not stand by any longer. As the highest military officer of the Sentinel species, he had a duty to protect the hegemony. Sometimes that meant protecting it from its own leaders. His private shuttle left the hegemony capital world quietly, with false identification codes. The journey to the Sol system took 4 days. When he arrived, he transmitted a special signal on an encrypted channel. Commander Susan Miller was the first to detect the signal at her listening post. She alerted Earth Defense Command immediately. "It's a request for a private meeting," she explained to Admiral Martinez and Nancy Rodriguez, from someone claiming to be a high-ranking hegemony official. "It's a trap," General Frank Donovan said firmly. Nancy studied the message details. "Maybe not. The signal uses some of the same patterns we saw in Scout Zax Toral's initial transmissions before the war." "Arrange the meeting," Admiral Martinez decided, "but with full security precautions." The meeting took place on a small, abandoned space station at the edge of the solar system. Admiral Fentorax came alone in his shuttle. Earth sent a small ship carrying Commander Miller, Admiral Martinez, and a security team. When the two groups met in the station's main room, everyone was tense. Admiral Fentorax towered over the humans, his gray skin and armor plates, making him look intimidating. "I come seeking peace," he said through a translation device, "and to offer help." Admiral Martinez stepped forward. "Why should we trust you?" "Because I tried to prevent this war." Fentorax placed a data device on the table between them. "This contains detailed information on our fleet movements, shield frequencies, and weapon systems." Commander Miller picked up the device carefully. "Why are you betraying your people?" "I am saving my people," Fentorax corrected. "This war is destroying the hegemony. Our resources drain away. Other species within our empire begin to question our leadership. If this continues, the entire hegemony could collapse." "That would be terrible," Nancy said, her voice heavy with sarcasm. "It would mean chaos across thousands of worlds." Fentorax replied seriously. "Billions would suffer." The humans exchanged glances. They hadn't considered the wider implications of their resistance. "What do you propose?" Admiral Martinez asked. "Help me overthrow Grand Executor Kithmol. I will establish a new council that will recognize Earth's independence and offer peace." After the meeting, Earth's leadership debated the offer. Some wanted to continue fighting until the hegemony was completely destroyed. Others saw value in having an ally within the alien empire. While they debated, Sergeant Kyle Bennett led a special mission. His team of 20 elite soldiers had trained for months for this moment. Their target: a damaged hegemony cruiser drifting in high Earth orbit after a recent battle. "Remember, we need the ship intact," Kyle told his team as their shuttle approached the alien vessel. "Focus on capturing the engine room and the bridge." The boarding action was quick and brutal. The hegemony crew, never trained for hand-to-hand combat aboard their own ships, were overwhelmed in 30 minutes. Kyle stood on the alien bridge, amazed that their plan had worked. "Control, this is Sergeant Bennett. The ship is ours." Dr. Diana Powell couldn't contain her excitement when the captured cruiser was towed to the secret facility on Mars. As the lead engineer for reverse engineering alien technology, she had waited for this opportunity. "A whole ship, intact," she whispered as she entered the massive vessel. "We can learn everything." Her team worked day and night, taking apart systems, studying the technology, figuring out how everything worked. What would have taken the hegemony decades to develop had taken humans years. What should have taken humans years, Diana's team accomplished in weeks. When they were finished, Earth had the plans for its first true interstellar warship. 6 months after the capture of the hegemony cruiser, Earth launched its first counter-offensive. 5 new warships, built using the alien technology, prepared to leave the solar system. They were smaller than hegemony vessels, but faster and more maneuverable. Humans had improved on the alien designs in ways the hegemony engineers never imagined. Captain Laura Thompson stood on the bridge of the lead ship, named Defiance. At 42, she had spent her entire career in Earth's Navy. Never had she imagined commanding a vessel capable of traveling to other stars. "All systems ready, Captain," reported her first officer, John Wells. Laura took a deep breath. "Begin jump sequence. Take us to the Proxima Centauri outpost." The 5 Earth ships vanished from the solar system in flashes of blue light. When they reappeared near Proxima Centauri, they found a small hegemony supply station. It was the first alien target outside the solar system. "They don't even have their shields up," Laura observed. "They're not expecting us." "They never imagined we could come to them," John replied. Laura opened the ship-wide communication channel. "All hands, battle stations. Remember the plan. Disable, don't destroy. We want to show them we could have killed them all, but chose not to." The battle lasted less than 5 minutes. The Earth ships disabled the station's defenses with surgical precision. Then Laura sent a message to the station commander. "This is Captain Laura Thompson of Earth Ship Defiance. Your station is now under our control. Surrender and no one will be harmed." The shocked hegemony commander surrendered immediately. News of the attack spread quickly through hegemony communication channels. A primitive species had not only defended their world, but had now attacked a hegemony outpost. It was unprecedented. On the hegemony throne world, Grand Executor Kith Mole received the news with stunned disbelief. How did they reach Proxima Centauri? They shouldn't have jump drive technology for centuries. Admiral Fentorax, who had secretly returned from his meeting with the humans, stood calmly before the council. "I warned you from the beginning. The humans are not like other species. They adapt. They learn quickly." "Treachery," Kith Mole shouted. "Someone must have given them our technology." Murmurs spread through the council chamber. Many members had begun to question Kith Mole's leadership. The war with Earth had drained resources and lives. Now other subject species throughout the hegemony were watching closely. On the planet Vexar, Scout Zax Toril received an encrypted message from Admiral Fentorax. The time had come. He gathered his fellow Vexari who had opposed the war and addressed them in a secret meeting. "The humans have proven what I reported months ago. They are not a species to be conquered. They are potential allies." He showed them footage of the Proxima Centauri attack. "Note how they disabled rather than destroyed. They show restraint even in victory." One of the Vexari asked, "What would you have us do?" "Spread the word. The time has come for change within the hegemony." Similar conversations happened across dozens of worlds. Species that had long resented hegemony rule watched as humans did what none had dared before. They pushed back. They won. On the planet Krell, the local governor was overthrown by his own people. On Tanix, the shipyards refused to build more warships for the fight against Earth. On Dorna, crowds gathered to demand peace talks with the humans. As Earth's small fleet continued its advance, disabling rather than destroying hegemony outposts, the rebellion spread. What had begun as a simple conquest had become a civil war within the hegemony itself. In her quarters aboard the Defiance, Laura reviewed reports from the front lines. Their strategy was working better than anyone had imagined. The hegemony was tearing itself apart. "Captain," John called over the intercom. "Admiral Martinez is calling from Earth. We've received new coordinates for our next target." Laura nodded to herself. The hegemony homeworld. The hegemony homeworld glowed like a jewel in the darkness of space. For 10,000 years, it had been the center of an empire spanning thousands of star systems. No enemy fleet had ever approached it. Until now. 20 Earth ships dropped out of jump space, facing the orbital defenses. They were joined by 30 rebel vessels from various species across the hegemony. Admiral Peter Martinez commanded from the flagship Determination. "Open a channel to the planet," he ordered. Grand Executor Kith Mole appeared on the main screen, his skin flashing purple with rage and fear. "How dare you come here? We will destroy your entire fleet." "You've been trying to destroy us for a year," Admiral Martinez replied calmly. "It hasn't worked out well for you. We offer terms for your surrender." "Never," Kith Mole shouted. The hegemony does not surrender to primitives. Before Martinez could respond, the screen split. Admiral Fentorax appeared on one half. This is Admiral Fentorax of the Sentinel homeworld. The military forces of 17 systems have withdrawn support from Grand Executor Kith Mole. We recognize his failed leadership has brought us to this point. Traitor! Kith Mole screamed. Fentorax continued as if he hadn't heard. We wish to negotiate peace with Earth and establish a new governing council for the hegemony. On the hegemony capital city, chaos erupted as news spread. Kith Mole ordered the planetary defense systems to fire on both the Earth ships and the rebel vessels. But many of the defense operators refused the order. Civil war had come to the heart of the Empire. In orbit, Captain Laura Thompson led a small team to board the hegemony's main defense platform. With the help of rebel sympathizers inside, they took control within an hour. Defense systems neutralized, Admiral Laura reported to Martinez. On the planet's surface, Kith Mole tried to flee his palace, but found himself surrounded by his own guards. You cannot do this. I am the Grand Executor. Not anymore, said the guard captain, placing him under arrest. 3 days later, in the Grand Council chamber of the hegemony capital, representatives from Earth sat alongside delegates from dozens of alien species. Admiral Martinez and Scout Zax Toril led the Earth delegation. Admiral Fentorax chaired the meeting. The galactic hegemony is dissolved, Fentorax announced. In its place, we establish the Galactic Confederation, a union of sovereign species who choose to work together for mutual benefit and defense. Zax Toril spoke next. As the first to recognize the unique nature of humanity, I propose that Earth be granted a permanent seat on the Confederation Council. The motion passed unanimously. The former empire had transformed into something new, something better. 1 year later, a memorial was unveiled in the great square of the Confederation capital. It depicted a Vexeri scout warning a much larger figure that represented the old hegemony. Beneath it, inscribed in 27 languages, were the words, "They tried to alert them humans are too dangerous." The Empire didn't listen. Admiral Martinez, now Earth's ambassador to the Confederation, stood beside Zax Toril at the ceremony. Do you think they understand us any better now? Martinez asked. Zax Toril watched as representatives from hundreds of worlds mingled together. Perhaps not entirely. Humans remain something of a mystery to many species. Your capacity for both terrible violence and extraordinary compassion continues to surprise us. And yet you're not afraid to work with us. Oh, we're still afraid, Zax Toril said with a small smile. But we've learned it's better to have humans as friends than as enemies. Besides, the galaxy faces many dangers. Your unique qualities may be exactly what we all need to survive what comes next. Martinez raised an eyebrow. What comes next? Zax Toril looked up at the stars becoming visible in the evening sky. The universe is vast, Ambassador. The hegemony explored only a tiny fraction of it. Who knows what else is out there, watching and waiting? Martinez nodded slowly. Humanity had fought its way to safety and earned respect among the stars. But their journey was just beginning.